Okay, so in today's video we're going to have a look at depreciation. We're going to have a look at non-calculator and calculator methods. So grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, make some notes, and we're going to get started. Now this first question says, James buys a car for £8,000 and the value of the car depreciates at a rate of 10% each year. How much will the car be worth after 3 years? Now this word here, depreciates, just means that it loses value every year. Now what's important is it doesn't just lose 10% of its original value every year, it loses 10% of every year's new value. And what I mean by that, if we start to break this up a bit, and the way that I'm going to do this is I'm always going to split the page up. So we'll have a look at year one to start with. So for year one, it's currently worth £8,000. And in that year it's going to lose 10% of its value. So we can work out 10%, I'm just going to write that to the side, 10% of that is £800. So in the first year, once it's lost that £800, so we'll do 8,000 take away 800, and I think that's okay to do without any working out at the moment, it's going to be worth £7,200 at the end of the first year. And obviously this has said how much is it going to be worth after 3 years, so we're going to have a look at the second year now, so I'm going to write year 2. And at the start of year 2, it's now worth 7,200. And now is where the depreciation comes into play, because it's now not going to lose £800 in the second year, it's going to lose 10% of its new value. So again, we'll work out 10%, and 10% of 7,200 is 720. So in this next year, it's going to lose £720. So however you're comfortable doing that subtraction there, but if we take away £720, we get a new value, and you can write this down. In fact, let's just write the working out down to the side here. We're going to take away £720 from that value just there. And that's going to give us a new value in year 2 of £6,480. And of course, if you don't have a calculator here, you may want to do some column subtraction, just making sure that you're getting that correct. And now we can move on to the third year. So in the third year, in year 3, its current value is £6,480. And again, it's going to lose 10% of its value in this final year here. And that's going to be £648 that it's going to lose. And again, we can take that away, and let's show the working out over here. We'll take away 648, and we're going to get a final answer here. When we actually do that takeaway, we'll take away 648, and we get £5,832. So 5,832. And there we go, that's our final answer there, after it's been depreciated by 10% each year for 3 years. And we're going to have a look at another question here that's also going to be non-calculator. Let's have a look at that one. Okay, so this says a company buys a van for £12,000 and each year the van depreciates by 15%. Again, depreciates just means goes down in value. So let's work out the value of the van at the end of 3 years. Now again, we're going to have to write this out step by step, starting with year 1. So at the start of year 1, it's worth £12,000. And this time we're going to have to work out 15%. So always just work out 10% to start with. So 10% is 1,200. We can halve that to get our 5%, which is 600. And if we combine those together, we'll have our 15%. By adding those together, we get 1,800. And 1,800, therefore, is how much it's going to lose at the end of that first year. So we can do that working out again. 12,000, take away the 1,800. And write that working out down, take away 1,800, and that's going to leave us with a value for the start of year 2 of £10,200. There we go. It's a little bit more complicated in terms of the percentage, but exactly the same in terms of the process. So again, I need to work out 10%. So 10% this time is 1,020, and 5% this time, half of that is 510. And again, if we add those together, we'll get our 15% again. So 15% is going to be 1,530. And that's what we're going to take away now in the second year. So back to the original amount now in the second year, which is 10,200, our new value. We're now going to take away the 1,530. And again, just do your column subtraction for that. But 10,200 take away 1,530 is 8,670. And there we go. And that is the value at the start of year 3. So 8,670. £70, there we go. And it does say it wants the value at the end of 3 years. Of course, at the moment we're at the start of the 3rd year. So again, we need to work it out again. So just be careful of the language there. It might say at the start of year 3 or the end of year 3, but this is looking at the end of year 3. So 10% here is 867, and this is where it's not going to be quite as nice now. So to get that 5%, we need to halve 867, which is going to give us a decimal there. It's going to go into the pence. So if you need to do some division there, so maybe using bus stop division just to get that halved for the 5%, absolutely fine to do that to the side, but it comes out as £433.50. And again, combining those there to get our 15% gives us a total value, and just add these together very carefully, you get a total value there of £1,300.50. There we go, and that's the value that we're going to lose there in the 3rd year. So if I just show that here, we're going to take away £1,350, so 8,670. Take away that answer, gives us a final value here for this van of £7,369.50. And again, just being very careful with your written methods there, your divisions and your subtractions, but I'm just showing you the process here, okay, rather than having the screen filled with a column subtraction and stuff like that. But you will need to be using those methods obviously in these questions. So there are 2 questions. So you're going to have a go at some questions now. They're very similar to these ones, just obviously make sure that you split the page up, show each year step by step, and here are those questions for you. Okay, here we go. So there's 2 questions, one on the left, one on the right. One's 3 years, one's 2 years. So show them step by step. Be very careful with your subtractions and your divisions if you have to do any. Have a go, pause the video there, and we'll go over the answers in a sec. Okay, so for the first one, Mary buys a car for £16,000. So in year 1, it's worth £16,000, and it's going to lose 25% of its value. Now 25% is £4,000, so we'll take away £4,000. And we end up with £12,000 at the end of year 1. Moving on to year 2, we start with £12,000, and 25% of that is £3,000, so we're going to lose £3,000, and that puts us down to £9,000. And then the final bit of working out in year 3, we start with £9,000, 25% of that is a little bit harder to work out there, obviously, but 2,250 is 25%, and when we take that away, we get 6,750. So there is our final answer for that first question there, 6,750. On to the next one. We've got a company buys a piece of machinery for 9,000, depreciates at a rate of 15%. How much will it be worth after 2 years? So year 1, we've got 9,000 as our starting value. It loses 15%, so 10% is 900, 5% is 450, so the total there is 1,350 that we're losing in the first year. So take away 1,350, and let's see what that leaves us with. We get £7,650. There we go, so 7,650. And moving on to year 2, we've got 7,650 as our starting amount, and let's work out our 15% again. I'm going to do that here. So 10% is 765, 5% is £382.50, and if we add those together for our 15%, we get £1,147.50. So we're going to take away £1,147.50. And I'm running out of space here, so I'm going to get rid of that working out. There we go. And when we take those away from each other, let's see what we get. 7,650 take away £1,147.50 leaves us with a total value to finish off with of £6,502.50. Not forgetting to put your 0 after the 5 there to I'll show that it's obviously 50p when we're looking at money there. So that's the end of that question. We're going to have a look at some that are probably more explicitly calculator questions. So these are both 2 that could be done without a calculator, even though I've not shown some of my working out methods there just to save a bit of space on the screen. But we'll have a look at some of the calculator questions. Okay, so this question says, Amy buys a new car for £18,000. Each year the car depreciates by 12%. How much will the car be worth at the end of 3 years? And obviously we could do this without a calculator, but we're going to have a look at doing some calculator methods here. So obviously the original value, in terms of a percentage, is 100%. Now if it loses 12%, so let's just say, okay, well we lose 12%, what percentage are we actually left with? And 100 take away 12 is 88%. Now there's actually something we can do here, because if it's going to be 88% of its value each year, there's something we can just times by straight away on the calculator, and it's the decimal version of 88%. And the decimal version of 88% is 0.88. And straight away, if we just times by 0.88, it will actually take away 12% for us. I can do that on the calculator, 18,000 times 0.88, and it gives me the answer 15,840. So that would actually just reduce it for me in the first year. And I could just do that 3 times. I could just times by 0.88 and keep on repeating that. Or I can actually do something to speed things up a little bit. And it's very similar to compound interest. And with compound interest, this is something that you add on to this multiplier here to get your 3 years. And it's a power of 3. So if I want to actually do this just 3 times very quickly on the calculator, I can do £18,000. And I can just times it by 0.88, and again I could do it 3 times, or just to speed things up a bit, you can just add a power of 3. Okay, and that will just be the same there. If it was 4 years, you'd put a power of 4, 5 years, you'd put a power of 5. Okay, and it'll just do it that many times for you. So if I type that straight into a calculator, 18,000 times 0.88 to the power of 3, and I get this answer here. I get £12,266.496. And obviously we are talking about money here, so we're going to have to round it to the nearest penny. So a final answer would be £12,266, and I'm just going to follow the normal rules of rounding, so I'll chop it off after the 9, and that rounds up to 50p there. So that 9 rounds up because of the 6, which rounds it up to 50p, so 0.50, and that'd be my final answer there. Again, just rounding to the nearest penny on any of these questions. Okay, so that's how you do it nice and easy on the calculator. Again, just thinking about the percentage, let's just pick a random one. If it depreciated by 23% each year, 100 take away 23 would leave us with 77%, and as a decimal, 77% is 0.77, so I'd times by 0.77. So just something to be thinking about there. Whatever the percentage it depreciates by, you can take that away from 100 and then convert it into your decimal that you're going to want to multiply by. So just a little bit of a quicker way that you can do this rather than having to do all those stages of each year. Let's have a look at another question. Okay, so this question says, Gary bought a new car. Each year the value of his car depreciates by 9%. After how many years will the value of his car be worth 47% of its original value when new? Actually missing a word there. It should say 47% of its original value when new. Now, this question doesn't give us a number. Now, whenever a question doesn't give you a number, something to be thinking about, let's just pick a random value. Now, a nice one is always to just go for 100. So if we just say it's worth £100, it's probably not worth £100, but if we go for £100, straight away we can have a think about what that value is going to be when it's 47% of its value. Now, 47% of £100 is £47. So what we want to know is, if it was worth £100, when would it be worth £47 or less? Okay. Now, obviously, it stays in proportion no matter what the cost, so it doesn't matter even if it was, £12,000 or £18,000. We can take this process of just thinking about it as 100 and seeing when it becomes 47. So if I start with £100, so if I imagine I was typing this in on the calculator, we'd do £100 and we times it by the decimal value for a depreciation of 9%. And that means it's going down by 9%, so let's have a think. 100% take away 9 leaves us with 91% each year, and the decimal version of that is 0.91. So what we're going to do is we're going to times it by 0.91 and see how many years we get. Now, if I just pick some random numbers, let's just go for 3 years and see what we get. So if I do a power of 3, so £100 times 0.91 to the power of 3, and that leaves me with 75.35. And actually it rounds up to 36 there, so let's write that down correct to the nearest penny. So £75.36. So clearly, obviously, we've got to go for a few more years. That's not enough. So let's go again. Let's go for £100 times 0.91. And this time, let's just go for a power of 6. Let's double it, because we've got quite a way to go there. So 100 times 0.91, power of 6, and we get £56 and 79. I was actually expecting it to get a little bit closer there, so we've got to go again. Maybe let's go for a 2-year jump this time. Let's go for 8 years. So £100 times 0.91, and let's go for a power of 8. Let's hope we get it this time. So £100 times 0.91 to the power of 8, and we get, there we go, £47 and 3 pence. There we go, so 47% of its original value. Okay, not quite bang on there. Again, if we change that and we go for a 9, let's go for 9 years, and we get £42.79. So obviously that there is pretty much bang on 47% of its value. Obviously just got to be careful with the language, because it may well say less than 47% of its value, or how many years until it hits that. You just got to be careful of what the wording is actually asking for there. So this question said after how many years, and our power was 8, so our answer would be 8 years. There we go. And again, you could pick any value there as long as you're happy working out 47% of it and seeing when it matches. I think £100 is always a very nice one, because it's very easy just to very quickly get 47% being the 47 there and just doing it that way. So I've got a couple of questions for you to have a go at. Just remember, whatever the depreciation amount is, take that away from 100, and that will give you your little decimal that you're going to multiply by. Okay, so here's a couple for you to have a go at. Okay, so here's 2 questions. Pause the video there, and we'll go over the answer in a sec. Okay, so the first one, Peter buys a new car for £14,000. Each year the car depreciates by 9%. How much will the car be worth at the end of 3 years? So 14,000, and we're going to multiply that by the decimal version, which is going to be 91% left over, which is 0.91. And for 3 years, we'll put in a power of 3. And just type that straight in. So 14,000 times 0.91 to the power of 3, and we get the answer £10,549 and 99 pence. There we go. It was actually a 4 after that final 9, so that stays as a 9 there. So that's our final answer, £10,549 and 99p. And on to the next one. Leah bought a new car for £20,000. Each year it drops by 13%. After how many years will the value of her car be worth less than 50% of its original value when new? So similar to one that we just looked at, but it does actually give us a starting amount. We've got 20,000. So if we start with 20,000, we need to know what value we're actually trying to get to. So it said, when's it going to be 50% of its value? So 50% of £20,000 is 10,000. So we're looking at when are we going to get to £10,000? And it does say how much, after how many years will it be worth less than that? So let's have a look. So when we take away 13% from 100, because that's our percentage we're looking at, we have 87% left over. And there we go. Let's just write that down. So we're going to times by 0.87. And let's just pick an amount of years. Let's go for 4 years. So 20,000 times 0.87 to the power of 4, and that gives us, actually not too far off, we get £11,457 and 95 pence. So I'm actually thinking it's probably just going to be that 5th year. So let's have a look. 20,000 times 0.87. I might just quickly check it before we write it down, because I don't run out of space. But power of 5, there we go. Yeah, it is a power of 5. So in that 5th year, it drops down to £9,968 and 42p to the nearest penny. So there we go. In that 5th year there, it drops less than 50% of its value. So our answer would be 5 years. And there we go. There's our final answer for that one. Okay, before we finish, we've got one more question to have a look at. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so a slightly different question. Not actually looking at depreciation here, but more of a reduction in price using these methods. So obviously we've looked at depreciation. This is something just slightly different, just thinking about how you could apply these methods to a slightly different question. So it says, in a shop, the normal price of a coat is £65 and the shop has a sale. In week 1, it's reduced by 20%, and in week 2, it's reduced by 18%. Maria has 40 quid. Does Maria have enough money to buy the coat in week 2 of the sale? And you must show how you get your answer. So you've got 2 different methods that we've looked at. Obviously, this is not depreciation, but it's very similar in terms of a percentage reduction, changing on a new cost. So think about what methods you could use from depreciation, actually apply it to this slightly different question here. Okay, so pause the video, have a go. I'm going to go over the answer in a sec. Okay, so let's have a look then. I'm going to go for the calculator method here. Again, you could go for either one, but let's have a look. We've got week 1, and it's going to get reduced by 20%. So if it starts at 65, I can just times that by 0.8, because when you take away 20%, you're left with 80%. And let's have a look what we get. So 65 times 0.8, leaves us with 52. So in week 1, it's worth £52. Now in week 2, it starts off being at £52, and again this time it loses 18%. Might just have to write that one down. So 100 take away 18 leaves us with 82%. Okay, so we're going to times it by 0.82. And 52 times 0.82 leaves us with £42 and 64 pence. So that's how much the coat is going to be worth after week 2. It's going to be worth £42 and 64 pence. And it says in the question, Maria has £40. So does she have enough? So we would say no, Maria does not have enough. There we go, does not have enough money. Okay, again, you could have applied the first method that we looked at, which is obviously just working out 10% and building it up or breaking it down. Okay, but I think actually you can quite kind of see that this method of depreciation that we looked at, looking at the multiplier, can actually be applied quite nicely to percentage reductions as well. And just thinking about how you can do those nice and quick. Obviously, if it's on a non-calculator question, you are going to have to apply the other method there. But if you've got a calculator, it's nice and quick just to multiply by these percentages written as decimals there. But there we go. There's a little look into depreciation, how it can be applied to another subject, another topic as well, looking at percentages. So if that was useful, if it was helpful, please like, please comment, please subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.